I feel like we should touch on some of the controversies here, because I know the money and the business continues apace, but yet there have been a lot of discussions around, Qatar as a base for this. What exactly, have been the main issues?
Yeah, so there are many, many to list, but the most significant one in my mind is around workers' deaths and specifically migrant workers. It's incredible to think that about 90%, I mean, 85 to 90% of Qatar's residents on any given day are migrant workers. There's a little under 3 million people that are residents of Qatar and only about 300,000 Qatari citizens. The rest are migrant workers. And when you think about, again, a $220 billion development project over the last 12 years, you can imagine how much need there was for these workers. Back in 2010, when Qatar was awarded the World Cup, the country didn't have a minimum wage, for example, and they still had a system known as kafala, which meant that workers' visas were sponsored by the employer, who then almost has complete control over that person to confiscate their passport, not allow letters of resignation, not allow exit visas to leave the country. I mean, it was called modern day slavery. And even as pressure on the country has formally made them go away from kafalas as a formal practice, a lot of human rights groups are still saying that the symptoms are still there. We don't really know how many workers died. The Guardian estimates like 6,500 migrant workers from 5 Southeast Asian countries have died since 2010. And actually, Qatar doesn't dispute that number. They just dispute that those deaths came as a result of World Cup construction. They admit to only 40 deaths on construction projects and only 3 of those being work-related. But there's been calls from human rights groups now that FIFA and Qatar should raise a $440 million fund equal to the total prize pool that the teams will be playing for in the World Cup to pay migrant workers' families in things like wrongful deaths and compensation for this incredible construction project that's gone over the last 12 years.
Well, and it's interesting. Has the spotlight of FIFA and the World Cup, has that actually prompted some of these, whether it's legislative changes or, frankly, the world's eyes are on you? It would make sense that practices that don't look so good in 2022, you'd have to change.
It has, formally, anyways. The attention and the pressure from human rights groups and really the world, the media in general, has led to some formal changes. The question is, one, is that actually affecting people's lives? And two, what will happen once, the carnival moves on to the next country in the next World Cup cycle? Will this progress continue in the country? Yeah, I don't know the answer to that. I think the social controversies of the country certainly will not change, because even amongst the pressure, things like homosexual rights, women's rights, they still operate in a male guardian system. For example, women have to get permission from a father, a brother, a husband to do basic tasks, marrying, getting a lot of reproductive health care rights, working a government job, things like that. So I don't think that the social progress is completely solved, let's say, now that the World Cup has officially kicked off.
Well, it's interesting. You hear a lot of people complaining about the lack of alcohol in the stadiums. That seems to have really captured the imagination of football fans worldwide. Have you done any research at all on FIFA itself? Because that is an organization, as I said, the governing body of football and soccer as we know it here in the U.S. But if you look at past World Cups, they have been in locations that, are maybe not equally controversial, but certainly controversial.
Yeah, no doubt. It's important to remember that Qatar is 20% smaller than the state of Connecticut. I mean, it's an incredibly small country. If you imagine, 8 Olympic-sized stadiums in the state of Connecticut, you can imagine just how crowded it is over there right now. It's crazy. But from a social standpoint, yes, the last 2 World Cups have been in Vladimir Putin's Russia and then now in Qatar. There's been many, like dozens and dozens of accusations of bribery for FIFA to award those World Cups to those 2 countries. FIFA did an internal investigation and said that there was no impropriety, but including, the United States Department of Justice, there have been allegations of those things, and they just have not officially been able to be confirmed. But it does make you wonder. The old FIFA president Sepp Blatter said in the lead up to this World Cup that awarding it to Qatar was a mistake. That it's too small of a country for this large of an event, and that makes you wonder maybe why they were chosen, especially because the United States was a heavy favorite to host the 2022 World Cup. And then at the last minute, kind of for no reason, or at least under mysterious circumstances, Qatar was chosen to host it this year.
Any other thoughts? You mentioned the prize money. Has that been going up as well? So the winning team, winning franchise, how much will they get if they carry home number one?
Yeah, so the World Cup prize pool is up 40 million from last World Cup, where it's 400. Now it's 440. The world champions will take home $42 million. So not a bad little chunk of change. That number has gone up. A lot of that has been a negotiation from the players, in addition to, of course, media rights exploding in recent years. Players asking for more. The interesting thing, though, is the winning prize will be awarded to the federation of that country. And then that country can decide for itself how much the players get of that. So, for example, like last World Cup cycle, the players were only getting, France won the World Cup, and I think the players got between $100,000 and $200,000 bonuses, which of course is nice, but if the country is taking home around $40 million, it's certainly less than you might expect.
Well, lots of drama to come, and not just on the field. Matt, thanks for joining us.
Of course, appreciate it.